This episode is brought to you by Cash App. When personal finance connects you to both your funds and the stuff that matters, that's money, and that's Cash App. You know what else is money? Cracking 2 eggs at once perfectly on the first try. Using a torch to overcome your fear of bananas. And of course, packing a healthy lunch for work. That's money. That's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today to add your cash tag to the 80 million and counting.
You know, it's not as easy as it looks. Sometimes I gotta move the antenna, sometimes I lose the remote, and sometimes my butt itches real bad.
Oh, you poor thing. By the way, you forgot your briefcase.
Oh, so this is the thanks I get for working overtime.
Overtime!
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at Patrick's dessert briefcase from SpongeBob SquarePants, for which, as you can see, I've procured a very inexpensive briefcase, which I'm going to mod out using hot glue and leather straps to accommodate our overtime lunch, for which we're going to need a whole lot of donuts. And since we want lots of variety, I think cake donuts are our best bet. For a basic vanilla donut, we're starting off by combining 240 grams of all-purpose flour with 200 grams of granulated sugar, 100 grams of brown sugar, a teaspoon and a half baking powder, and a half teaspoon baking soda. Whisk together the dry and so too the wet. 180 ml of whole milk, 75 of vegetable oil, 1 tablespoon of vanilla paste, and 2 large eggs. Cracked and broken in there however you like. As long as you don't get any shell in there, it's no big deal. It's not like you're hosting a cooking show. Whisk the wet stuff until homogeneous and then add to the dry stuff, standard cake batter procedure. Gently fold together until no dry clumps remain and mostly homogeneous, not completely smooth, but pretty much there. This batter's going to thicken as we allow the flour to hydrate over the next 10 minutes, which it's going to do in a pastry bag or zip-top plastic bag with the corner cut off. Before piping, we are thoroughly greasing the cavities of our donut pans. Then we're going to fill our cavities about halfway with donut batter. That's way too much. There we go, that's better. Once filled about halfway, these guys are headed for a preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 10 to 12 minutes, until they emerge golden brown and 200 to 210 degrees Fahrenheit at their thickest point. Let it cool in the pan for 10 minutes before twisting out onto a cooling rack. Now, converting this recipe to chocolate donuts is super easy. Just like our chocolate cookies, we're simply swapping out an amount of flour, in this case 65 grams, for cocoa powder, and that's it. That's all you really need to do. The baking procedure is very much the same, but since they're chocolate, they're a little bit harder to tell when they're done. So I'm making sure that none of my donut cavities are filled any more than halfway, and baking for at least 12 minutes or until we get a good temp at their thickest point. Now, the only other modifier that I'm going to do to the actual donut batter is to make a maple donut, achieved simply by replacing our granulated sugar with 3/4 of a cup or 175 ml of maple syrup and reducing the amount of milk by 75 milliliters to account for the extra moisture. Add the maple syrup to the wet stuff instead of the dry, and you got yourself the mapliest of maple donuts, my personal favorite. Now to introduce some variations on the theme. I'm making more vanilla donuts and subdividing the batter down into 3 parts, each of which I'm going to flavor differently. First up, a tablespoon of poppy seeds and a half teaspoon of lemon oil. Next, simply add rainbow sprinkles and you got yourself some instant birthday cake batter. Lastly, a tablespoon of matcha, which I would recommend you replace flour with in the original recipe because this made it a little too thick, but still works. Pipe and bake as usual, and we got ourselves some fun spins on the original formula, each of which we can whimsically frost accordingly. Now to the leftover maple batter, I'm going to add some frozen blueberries for some very obviously awesome maple blueberry donuts. Imagine making a breakfast sandwich out of that. And for variations on the chocolate, going super simple, starting with some raspberry extract for a chocolate raspberry donut, a tablespoon of espresso powder for a chocolate coffee donut, and a splash of Grand Marnier for a chocolate orange donut. Then once all the donuts are completely cool, it's time to glaze them, each of which we're going to make by combining about a cup of powdered sugar with a small amount of flavorful liquid like maple syrup, skim milk, blueberry juice, cooled coffee, whatever's relevant to the individual donut. So there's our dozen lovely donuts, which we can now arrange in our briefcase for easy transport to and from work. But there's something missing, or rather 2 things. First up, a banana split. I'm going to show you guys a little trick they taught me when I worked at the chocolate room in Brooklyn, where for our banana split, we would obviously split a banana, sprinkle the banana with sugar, and then torch it for an instant banana brulee, or banana split Foster, or whatever it is you want to call it. Just make sure it cools completely before peeling and serving. On the left, I have a simple vanilla milkshake with whipped cream, and on the right, I'm assembling our banana split with 3 scoops of vanilla ice cream or the ice cream of your choice, flanked by our banana brulee topped with whipped cream, then drizzled with chocolate sauce that I was too lazy to make, and finished with 3 bright red maraschino cherries. And there you have it, folks, Patrick's dessert briefcase. A little more arts and crafts than usual, but I think you'll agree, pretty worth it, at least just to see it in real life. I wouldn't say it's the most practical working lunch, but everybody at the office seemed to like it. Thanks again to Cash App. That's money, that's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today to add your cash tag to the 80 million and counting.